Hey everybody, this is Goots' Disney Pod. We are still in the year 2000, and today is Emperor's New Groove, and my guest this week is Sonya Vai, a very funny comedian that lives in the village. Sonya, how are you?
Hi, I'm good as can be, I guess, in the current situation.
Yeah, it is. Right now I'm recording this on May 15th, and we're still in quarantine. And Sonya, you've been in
Yes.
your apartment this entire time, right?
Yeah, I think a little over 2 months now
And you don't, you
because
don't, you don't go out, or do you go out like to the store?
I go out to the store and I go out for a walk. But really only when it's nice out, and it just started getting nice out. So for the last 2 months, there'll be like 4 days where I wouldn't leave my house,
Yeah,
just
like
because
just because what? So you can finish. I'm sorry.
just because it was like shitty out. So
Yeah, like April the weather was so bad. I was like, why do you when people would bitch at home, like, why do you want to go out?
I
It was
know.
raining like every other day. It was freezing cold. Like,
Yeah. And
I
I want to go out. Like the second it's over 55, I'll try to get out. But it's also, you get depressed, and then it's like 2 days becomes three, becomes four, becomes five. And then
yeah
suddenly I'm like, I haven't seen the sun in 6 days. I'm turning into a vampire.
yeah. I feel like a vampire because I sleep till like noon and then I go to bed at like 4 or 5 in the
Me
morning.
too.
Yeah.
Me too. I mean, that's not that different than it used to be because I guess we're comics, but
Mhm.
it almost feels like I don't really care. Like now my life just starts
Yeah.
after 12.
Like I'll get up at like some mornings I'll get up at like 9, 10, and I'm like, oh, I should start my day, and I'm like, what am I starting? There's nothing going on, and
Exactly.
I just go to bed.
I know. And I almost feel like I'm embracing it. I think I'm gonna have trouble going back to
Yeah,
waking
me
up at
too.
10. I never even woke up that early. I woke up like 10 o'clock, right? So it wasn't that early, but
Hmm.
it's still 10 is still way earlier than 12, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So
Yeah, you already feel like your day is halfway done. That's why like I would say because I would get up late and then like I wouldn't start really doing stuff like around midnight, and then I'm like, well, I'll just go to bed late and I'll just keep doing all this like I gotta
yeah,
pay my bills and stuff, and then
yeah,
you just repeat the cycle. But like at the same time, it's like I don't know. It's just what's the point? What's the point of getting up early? What are you gonna do?
I
Like,
know. But now that it's nice out, like today's
hmm
been the first really gorgeous day. I think it's
yeah,
80, right?
yeah. Today it's beautiful out. I went to the post office, so
Yeah, see, these are the days where I'm like, oh, I wish I was getting up early again because then you can really enjoy the whole day.
yeah.
So,
That's true.
yeah, it's
That's true.
nice.
Well, I mean, we got to enjoy this summer because next summer we'll be in internment camps. So I don't know
If we're alive, if we
if
make it to next
if we're
summer.
alive, we'll be doing Disney podcasts in Germany. I don't know. We're
Exactly.
hiding from Trump and his
My
stormtroopers.
God. My sister and I were like, I told you, my parents are stuck. They're stuck in another country. And so we've just, it's become so personal for us when it comes to this administration that it's like, okay, well, if my dad dies, if my parents die because of you, I'm coming after you.
Yeah, I know. So your parents, you were telling me this off the air. Your parents are stuck in India right now, huh?
Yeah, they went there for vacation in February. And for those of people who are listening who don't know, my parents are from India.
Oh yeah, that's right. She's Indian.
So
Sorry. So it's just yeah.
yeah, a lot of it not necessary unless we're talking about this. But
Mhm.
yeah, so they went to visit. My mom's entire family is there. So they try to visit often, every other year or so.
Mhm.
And it's nice for them because they leave in the winter, and even though they live in Florida, so it doesn't matter. But um, they go to visit, and when they do, they go for like 2 months or 3 months, depending. And this time they were there for about a month when all of this hit. And we had like, I think 2 days to decide whether they were going to come back. And within those 2 days, my parents were like, oh, we'll just stay. We plan to stay here for 2 months. We'll just stay. And then suddenly they couldn't leave.
Wow.
And that changes the story, though. It changes everything for them because then they realize they don't have the option anymore. And it was still fine because they're like, I don't like their prime minister at all. I hate him. I think he's a horrible human
The
being.
president of India?
Yeah, Modi. He's
Oh,
the prime
okay.
minister.
Because this
But
president is all human being too. So I'm like, wait, which president are we
yeah,
talking
yeah.
about?
I don't like any of them right now, except the
Okay.
women. The women leaders are all the good ones. No,
Mhm.
but he's an awful human being. Like, he's very anti-Muslim, and so he's taking this time to also take away their rights and whatnot. So I hate him, but at the same time, his response to coronavirus was better than Trump's. Like,
Yeah.
he put the whole country on lockdown, and given that it's over 1 billion people and there's obviously a lot of poor areas, they've had less deaths to date,
That's insane to me. Yeah.
yeah, than America. It's like you think that a third world country wouldn't fare better, but apparently these
Well,
days.
I think we're about to be a fourth world country. I
I
mean, this
know.
country is reacting so badly to this. It's really shocking. I mean, it's shocking, but it's not shocking. It's kind of like
Exactly. Like, that's the thing we were talking about. I was like, I get very frustrated with the administration as well. But then at the same time, I'm like, don't forget, this man told us who he was from the beginning. He
yeah,
didn't lie. He was like only about himself, made excuses for the alt-right,
yeah,
hates
maybe
women.
the KKK. And, it's people. I think they think the United States lives in a bubble. Like I think they think the other countries are like, like we're the Marvel universe and the other countries are the
Yeah.
DC universe. We don't. But these countries are seeing what's going on with us, and don't be surprised if they use this as an opportunity to take away our power. Friendly
Yeah.
countries and countries that are our enemies, like they're watching this and they're like, "Wow, United States is really becoming a parody of themselves, and
Yeah. We
they
are.
can hurt
We're
us. They can fuck with us, the other
I don't
countries."
I mean, look, I don't think they have incentive to, because the
Well, I think a lot
reality
of
is,
countries don't want us to have so much power over the world. So,
yes, I think that's the difference, is like, if they start changing trade agreements, like, that's where
mhm.
they really affect us, when it
Yeah,
comes to debt, when it comes to,
Sonia, Sonia, you there? Hello, hello, Sonia. And we are back after some technical difficulties. We were talking about how third world countries, other countries are probably going to use this opportunity to mess with us. What do you think? And you were agreeing with me, correct, Sonia?
I think, I think they'll, I think they're just going to try not to rely on us anymore, because we're not reliable anymore. I
That's
don't think
true.
anyone's going to attack us more than who normally would,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I don't think, like, France is going to wage war with America.
Well, I
But
think well, no, because they're pussies, so they wouldn't wage war. Either
you
there's only
think
two
they're,
people left in this country, they would still surrender to us. So,
you know what, though? I don't think they're pussies. I think they remember what these guys did during the French Revolution. They cut off the heads of their leaders. So
mhm.
their history is pretty violent.
No, I
Um,
know, but that's a long time ago. So I don't
I know,
know.
but I actually think that that's why their middle class still has some say in
I would just is it
today.
Michigan where the militia keeps shutting down the government?
Yeah.
I would send those guys to France. They'll finish them off in 3 seconds. Those guys are scary.
Yeah,
Um,
they really are. Did you see the picture of them, like, walking into the governor's, I guess, office, and she has her, like, security, and they're just, like, screaming at the security, and the security is not moving. I don't know if you
ye-
saw that image.
yeah, I did see that. Yeah, they are. Let me just tell you something though. If those guys were Muslims or
I
black
know,
people
I know.
or Latino people, there'd
Yeah,
be a race war on the streets of
yeah,
Michigan.
yeah. There was actually an article. This journalist wrote about it and said that we're normalizing this because
Because
white
it's a white people, yeah.
behavior, right? White behavior is always considered quote unquote normal, and he's like, you need to call this out, because if these people were brown or black, they would be in jail. There would be, exactly,
Oh,
people would be spouting the word terrorism, and actually in the 60s, the Black Panthers did something very similar. Not for the same reason. Obviously, they were fighting for their rights, but all of those people had, I think, the FBI put on them. They were
mm-hmm.
taken to jail. I mean, they were punished so severely for demonstrating their civil rights, and yet these guys are just spewing bullshit, and they're not doing this for any rights or anything like that. They're just doing it because they're the morons.
Yeah, like when I read about the Black Panthers in the history books, I don't know if you remember as a kid, but they would say like, "Well, the Black Panthers were a little bit too much." That's what
I
they would tell us
know.
that Martin Luther King was fine, and even in the they had the Black Panther character, that made all that money. But in the 70s, they had the character go like, oh, I don't want to be associated with the Black Panthers, and he changed his name to the Black Leopard for like a couple of years.
No.
Yeah, I swear to God, when the Black Panthers were really, no
That's
one
so
talks about
ridiculous.
that, but they changed it to the Black Leopard.
But you know what, Ray? I knew if anyone would know that, you would know that.
Yeah, no one talks about. I'm surprised they don't bring that up even now. But now that the character now is so huge, and now he's
Yeah.
back being called Black Panther. But yeah, and the Black Panthers were not even close to what these militia guys are. But
No, not at all. And also they were being peaceful, right? But they
Mhm.
were asserting their rights to have weapons on them. And
Yeah, they're
even
not like asserting their facts that we need to let old people die so they can go to
yeah,
the mall.
exactly.
Mhm.
Did you hear what Alex Jones said about eating his neighbors?
Yes, that was funny though.
That was the best. I'm sorry, but that was like
That was hilarious.
he was like, I've been looking at my neighbors. I'm like, oh my God, if I was his neighbor, I'd be so freaked out right now.
Yeah.
I'd be like, we need to move. We can't be here. Alex Jones is going to eat us.
I think if you're gonna be this crazy, at least be funny. At least he's funny. That's
Yeah.
my thing.
Yeah,
You
that to me, I don't like him. I don't espouse to anything he says, but that thing about his not letting his daughter starve, and then someone pointed out that he had a son, and he never said anything about his son.
Well, his
So like,
daughter's got to live because he's got to repopulate the human race. So who else is he gonna have
Exactly.
sex with?
Exactly.
That's probably his next week. Well, I want my daughter to live. I gotta have sex with somebody.
Got to keep that bloodline pure.
Gotta, yeah. Well, why would I? Can't have sex with my son. I don't know.
I thought it was, well, you can, but
Then I can't have no babies with my son.
Exactly.
So
No, but I just thought that was funny that he only cared about his daughters, not
I
his
know.
son.
Jesus. Woo. So let's get into a little bit of your history, Sonya. How long have you been doing stand up?
Well, until the world ended, around 6 years.
Only 6 years?
Only 6 years, yeah.
Wow, I don't know why it feels longer. Okay.
Because I'm good, right? That's why.
Yeah, I know, but I just feel like I've known you for longer than 6 years. But I did meet you after I quit. So after I quit Caroline's, not quit stand up.
Yeah. I moved back to New York in late 2016, almost the beginning of 2017.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've only been doing comedy in New York for 3 years.
That's true. Well, 4 years now, right?
Well, I mean.
Oh, yeah, 17, 18. No, 4 years if it's 26.
17, 18, 19. That's 3 full years.
Oh, okay. So
And
yeah, you
then
moved in 2017. Sorry.
At the very beginning, yeah, like the very end of 2016. And so 3 years in New York, and then obviously 3 years in a few months until 3 years in January, February, March, I guess.
Yeah.
and then it's all come to
And then everything ended. And right before it ended, you were getting booked to host shows at Caroline's, and you were getting lots of bookings, and then the world ended.
Yeah.
Is that disappointing?
It was very disappointing. I had my biggest gig thus far. I was featuring for this cultural center in New Jersey, and it was my biggest payday in one, like, for doing 30 minutes so far, right? But it felt so good. It felt so good to like actually get paid real money to do comedy. And then, of course, the comedy gods are like, fuck you. No more comedy for you.
It's over. Fuck that.
We're done. So,
Now, what got you into stand-up?
Okay, so unlike most people, I did not dream of being a stand-up comedian my whole life. In fact, because I grew up first generation, in my home, I didn't even watch, like, my parents listened to Indian music, they watched Indian movies. I mean, I watched television, but we didn't have cable. And so I didn't even really know about stand-up comedy growing up until I discovered it on my own, right? When I was about a teenager or something like that. But so it wasn't something I ever thought of as a feasible thing to do. I always knew I wanted to be a performer. Like, I think I was 4 years old. First time I had a mic in my hand, and I was like, oh, this feels good. This is great. So I trained as an actor, and I went to LA to pursue acting. And my first year working, I did a lot of work, non-union, student films, all that stuff. But I just kept getting screwed over. Like, no one would give me my SAG waivers, or I wouldn't get paid, or I wouldn't get footage. And so after about a year there, and learning how the business really works, where you have to develop relationships with casting directors and whatnot. And, a lot of this takes years. So I think my first year out there, I kind of had a breakdown because I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing in my life.
Yeah.
And my neighbor happened to be a stand-up comedian, my next door neighbor. And I remember going to see him perform at the Comedy Store. And he would just be like, you're really funny. You should try stand-up. And I was just like, ew, no, I'm a thespian.
Yeah. I'm an actor.
I'm an actor. And he just kept sort of pushing me and saying that I'd be really good at it, that I should try it. And then he kind of broke it down for me. And he was like, there aren't a lot of women. There are not a lot of Indian women who do this. And so if you work really hard and you're successful, you might stand out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, okay, fine, I'll give it a chance. And I went and took a class. And again, the second the mic was in my hand, I was like, this feels amazing. There was something that clicked. I can't even articulate it, and that's it. That's when I switched, lanes and decided to.
You did stand up. You did stand up in LA for how long?
3 years.
Oh wow, okay, so you were there for a while.
Yeah, and it was awful. The one thing I'll tell, like, when people ask me about being a comedian, there's like, what's the first word of advice you give? I say, don't do it. If you can do anything else, do something else, right? Because it's just not a easy life, just like acting. But then the second thing I would say is start in a secondary market. That's something I learned, where you just don't want to start in LA. It's too hard to start there.
Yeah. Stand-up is really the only art form, and I was kind of feeling this way right when it ended, where you can do a really, 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 really good job. And if they don't like the hat you're wearing, or if they don't like the fact your Facebook status, they'll just stop booking you. Where, it's almost like, what is the point of me doing what is the point of me being funny and writing all this jokes if, like, for whatever reason, this booker this booker has built an invisible wall that I can't seem to penetrate,
Yeah. I mean, I think for actors, though, that's like casting directors and directors. Like, there's always somebody who's a gatekeeper. But I think these days, that's less and less true, because we do.
Well, yeah, because they all don't have jobs anymore.
Hey, that's true. And we have the ability to make our own content, right? So for me, the reason I didn't like LA is because it was so hard to get good stage time. Because you didn't necessarily just get stage time because you were funny. And that's why I like New York, because I think it's a little more of a meritocracy.
Well, it used to be more of a meritocracy. It was right before it shut down. I feel like it was being more and more high school games.
I think that's true for the entire
world.
Yes. Yeah. I think the world is just one big high school that you have to, like, you just have to keep living it over and over again until you figure it out. But I agree with you. I think you're always dealing with people's egos, and you might rub them the wrong way. You might just, you might remind them of their ex, and so they won't book you, or for what they might not like your voice. So there's always that. I think that's true for everybody. But I think in LA, like, this is how badly I wanted to do stand-up, is that I would go out of LA, because in LA there's so few rooms. There's only 4 clubs.
Yeah,
right?
There's not that many rooms.
And also the rooms are terrible because you can't bark people in. So these independent shows, unless you have a really good marketing system, you're not getting people to even your shows. So the shows there sometimes look like the open mics we have in New York.
Yeah.
Where it's just comics.
Yeah, well, some of I did some LA shows that felt like I was at an open mic.
Yeah, that's right. I remember when you went to LA.
Sorry, I don't know why I'm coughing so much. Speak Corona. Sorry about that.
It must be. Oh no, Ray, please don't.
I'm gonna get you infected by Zoom.
Don't infect me via Zoom.
Yeah, I did this. I did this bar show in LA, and it was packed, and everybody going up was like, this person we even get on at the Pair. All offense to the Pair, because I don't know, but and I don't mean, and my family was there, and I was like, I kept saying, no, I'm sorry, it's gonna get better, and it didn't get better, and then I went up, and I don't mean to sound cocky, but you could see like a shift in their crowd, like, oh my God, we're at a real show now, you know what I mean?
Right.
And everyone, and it was just like, it was so easy because everybody there was so bad. It was so easy. And I'm not trying to shit on anyone. I don't even remember, but some of the stuff these people were saying, I was like embarrassed that my aunt and my uncle, they're like in their 70s. I was so embarrassed they were there.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
but
at least it paid off that they came out to see you. You know,
yeah, and I had a great set. And then I went to
yeah.
the store and I was like, oh, this is where I do like the store a lot.
Yeah, and the store is like back to its heyday, I think, back to where it was in the 70s.
Well,
Like that's the place.
it was, but
Yes, until now.
it might become a
But
Marshalls by the end of this.
that would be so horrible and ironic and funny, though. It would be terrible. But
It would be terrible. Yeah, that's the one place. I hope if any place survives this, I just want the store to survive it. That's the only place, actually.
yeah, I think this the store, the Improv is really great out there.
Mhm.
Laugh Factory and even West Side Theater, I think, is a great place to perform.
Yes, the one that Neil Nada did,
Yeah,
right?
Neil
Yeah.
Nanda. Yeah. Unnecessary Evil. It was a great show.
It's so funny. I got him a spot at Caroline's, but it was the day I got banned, and so when he
Oh,
went
no.
there, I had to like yell at Ben Rosenfeld to make sure he got on, and he did get on, but he never contacted me again. He's probably like, I don't need to contact that guy because he got banned.
Oh.
But
Right, we need to talk about how you get banned from everything at some point in your life.
Well, I'm still not banned from Broadway or Greenwich or.
I don't know. They're shut down so far, so we'll see what happens.
I think Al Martin's going to survive before Caroline's will, this whole thing, but that's a whole other conversation.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so. I
don't know what it's going to look like. I
think both cities are going to look radically different at the end of this. It's not going to be the same. If you think things are going to be this back to normal, like nothing ever happened, then you're smoking crack.
Yeah, and I also think we've just fundamentally shifted the way we're going to live moving forward because apparently, and again, I don't know for sure, but including Fauci and a lot of these epidemiologists and microbiologists, that if you listen to what they're saying this is something we're going to be dealing with for the next 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
So I think just the way, at least in the short term, 3 years isn't anything in the span of even a lifetime, but I think in the short term, yeah, there's going to be dramatic change. Because think about why people come to New York. People come to New York because of the life, right? Yeah,
and their dreams. You can't achieve your dreams here anymore. So what's the point?
There's no live theater, right? There's no live comedy. There's no music. There's no restaurants, nightclubs, like all the things that are attractive about New York have now gone away.
Yeah.
So, and all these restaurants and clubs and bars and whatnot are shut down permanently. So, yeah, we'll see.
I gotta be honest. Like I've been doing some thinking, and I'm thinking to myself, if things don't go back to normal when it gets colder in this area, I think because here's the deal: I'd rather have my life fall apart in nice weather than shitty weather. Like I don't want to freeze my ass off, not go on stage and lose all my money.
Yeah.
I'd rather not go on stage, lose all my money, and at least get some sunshine.
Yeah. I think there's going to be a mass exodus to LA.
Yeah, because if your life's going to fall apart, you might as well fall apart over there. So.
Yeah. And to be honest, like I'm a New Yorker for life, right? Even when I lived in LA for 5 to 6 years and probably 5.5 years. And throughout that entire time, I was like, I'm a New Yorker. And I did enjoy my time there, but I never choose LA over New York. Mm-hmm. And for the first time in my life, I'm like, oh, LA is looking real good right now.
Oh, I looked up housing prices in my family's neighborhood, and they're actually insanely cheap, the houses right now.
Yeah. So and you never know.
To the point where I mean, I don't mean to brag about this podcast, but I could buy a 2-story house right now, cash, and still have plenty of money left over to like invest, just to live off of for the next 20, 30 years, which is insane to me because it used to be so expensive to live over there.
I still think it is depending on the area, but yeah, I think if you can do that, it might not be a bad investment either. I know,
but my long-term goal is to stay here. So I'm waiting to see if property values go down the toilet here first before I make a move. So.
Do you think they will?
Yes, I think they will. I think the things don't go back to normal. I don't think they're going to because I went out to the post office. Streets are packed. Nobody's listening to social distancing. Nobody's wearing masks. Yeah. We're all going to get sicker. We're all going to die more. And I don't think that. Funny, but... No, I think people need to see dead bodies in the street to realize that this is a bad situation. The reason why Oh,
Yeah,
not that
no,
many
I
people.
agree with you. I agree with
Yeah.
you because I think, somebody was telling me, they're like, oh, we should have started social distancing in February or in January when this stuff was happening in China. And I was like, yeah, you're hard pressed to get anybody, even myself, like nobody's going to social distance unless they think the fear is real,
Yeah.
right? Like that's just not, it's not what we're about. We are selfish creatures, and if our lives aren't affected, why would we change?
Yeah.
And that, I think that's part of human nature.
Yeah.
So I think you have to struggle with that. So I agree with you. Although
Yeah.
I will say this, I'm terrified of getting back on the subway. Terrified.
Oh, I'm not going on the subway. I'm not going into Manhattan. This comedian wanted to make me dinner, and I was like, I'm not going to Manhattan. You can come over here. We can eat. I'm not going to Manhattan. Fuck that. I heard there's a lot of Eric was telling me there's a lot of homeless by where you guys are,
Yeah,
and
that's
they're
the one
like
that I
not
was.
giving a fuck anymore, right?
No, yeah, like it's calmed down now. I think they must have brought
I think
in some
they shut down
police
the subway so
because
they could. I think they murdered them in the subways at night.
no, oh, don't say that. That's terrible.
They just shoot them in the head like mafia style.
No, but you do realize that they're the most vulnerable, and we're
Hmm.
not doing anything about them. Like
No.
nothing. Like I feel bad because in my neighborhood, on my block, there were these meth heads that moved in, you know? And
Woo.
anytime I see like homelessness, of course I feel terrible. I never ignore homeless people. Like even if I can't give them anything, I will acknowledge them and say, I'm sorry, I don't have any cash, or smile, do something, right? Because I mean, I feel like they're human beings and they don't deserve that, and they're already in a bad place. But these guys were just, they just started smoking meth on the street every night.
Wow.
And I could hear fights outside my window, or like
And
screaming.
that's like 80s stuff. So yeah,
Yeah,
that stuff went away in the 90s.
I know. And I was like, holy shit. Like I'm living in the village, and this is the shit. I'm like, I
Yeah, I
clearly
mean,
did not go up in life. Like this just reminds me of my childhood.
yeah, like it I see a lot of things people tell me about Manhattan. I'm like, oh, that's the 80s. That's the 80s. And
Yeah.
the 80s are coming back. The thing I think people thought all those people like went away. They didn't. They just hid. And I think everyone who saw Friends thought Manhattan was like that. And they've come. My thing is, I think a lot of people in their 20s and 30s came here trying to make this into the show Friends, Manhattan.
That's actually, I've never heard anyone say that, but that's a really interesting perspective.
It is, no, but I mean, I think Friends really changed the way people see New York, because people used to be afraid of New York, and after Friends, they weren't. A
That's
lot of people live
interesting. Yeah,
here.
I never realized. I mean, economically things did get better, but you're right. I guess Friends, even though it was filmed in LA.
Well, Friends
Um,
started around the same time that they started cleaning up Times Square. So, you know,
ah,
that 10-year period, 94 to 2004, there's a lot of because I was at Caroline's in 2004, I wasn't doing stand up yet when Friends ended. And
uh-huh.
a lot of people that were like customers at Caroline's, I don't think they'd be customers at Caroline's in 93, 92, that were there,
Interesting. Yeah, because it's on Broadway. It's in Times Square. Well, right
yeah.
at the edge. But yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
Wow,
And
that's actually really interesting. I think you're right. I guess
yeah, I
there
really
was
feel
this
like
like
Friends is what changed
view.
the city. How people view the city.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of kids who come here, or even people now our age. I mean, we're still kids. Fuck it.
At
They,
least that's what I tell myself every night.
yeah, they've tried to mold this city into Friends, and I think they have. In many ways, they've succeeded. But
Right.
those people that were there in the 80s, they never went away. They were just
Yeah.
hiding, not hiding, but they weren't. And now it's like, well, all the hipsters and all like all these kids, these trust fund kids are now inside. So all the scumbags are coming back out to fucking
Yeah.
play, and that's
No, and
what's
I
happening.
and and I normally, like, again, when this comes to homelessness, I think it is a real problem in New York City, and
Hmm.
there's just there really isn't a viable solution, or at least there isn't one that they have enacted. There probably is one, but when I saw these meth heads, I started getting afraid of going outside
Yeah.
at night, and I was like, I grew up in Queens, like I've never been afraid, even when this happened when I was a kid. Like you see this, I wouldn't go out at night as a kid naturally, but like as an adult, I've never been afraid of anywhere that I've lived. Um, and I was like, I called the police one night,
Yeah.
because there was a fight happening, And the police, like, first of all, I didn't call 911. I just called the regular line, but it took them like 20 minutes just to answer the phone. And by then the fight was over.
I know. The police just, yeah, they don't give a fuck.
Well, they were also overwhelmed with coronavirus,
Yeah.
so it's like they're not thinking about anything else. But I didn't know what to do because there was an actual fight going on, and I was like, I don't know if people getting hurt, and maybe I should have called 911. I just felt like that was a little extreme, but it ended, and these guys dispersed or whatever. But for the first time, I was just like, this is not great. And I feel bad because there are places in the city that happens every night, and I know that, like, when I grew up in Queens, that was a neighborhood we lived in. Like, no one went outside at night.
Oh yeah, no, there were always problems in Queens at night, and that went away as we got into the 2000s, and I mean, it's coming. All that stuff is coming back, and I'm used to it because, my block was relatively safe, but that's because we had drug dealers on my block. It would fuck you up if you came on this block. But there were blocks. There were like blocks two blocks from me that you didn't walk down, and that's coming back, and I'm okay with it because I'm like, all right, this is just how.
I'm okay with it too. I just don't want to be paying the rent that I'm paying now.
Yeah, but I'm saying I don't think a lot
of that's going to be on my block, then I want to pay the rent that's reflective of that.
I don't think a lot of these transplants are going to be okay with it, and I think you're going to see. Yeah. Well, my dreams are going to come true here, and I'm going to get stabbed. Maybe I'll just go back home.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I think about it, that's the thing is when you're from New York, you're like, well, I don't know where to go now. So, and I don't want to leave New York. It is my home.
No, me neither.
Except for maybe LA. I think we're going to go to LA, right? We're going to figure it out.
Yeah, well, my whole family, that's the other thing, my family's in California. So people are like, oh, there's a lot of shitheads doing comedy. There's a lot of drama out there. Like, yeah, but the difference is, when I get treated like shit by the GM at Caroline's, I go home to nobody. But if I get treated like shit at the store, I can go back and hang out with my family and feel better. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's honestly, I think people are gonna make moves for sure.
Yeah.
So
we'll see. I mean, if there's a future here, I'll stay. But if there's no future,
what are you gonna do, right? Yeah.
What am I gonna do? Just go broke because I love New York? I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think right now so much is uncertain, but I'm just hoping the property values go down for selfish reasons because
I wouldn't mind.
I don't want it to. Yeah, go ahead.
No, because that'd be great because then if houses go down next to nothing here, in 10 to 20 years, I can make a huge profits. That'd be fucking awesome.
Right. I think that's how all of us are trying. Anyone who's not dealing with health issues is like, how can I make money? Yeah,
because you can make, but there's gonna be people that are gonna get rich off this.
Well, and also I realize that that's the way people who are rich think. Mm-hmm. It is a little bit counterintuitive, but that's what they're thinking. I think I've been around enough people who have that mentality where I'm like, why am I not thinking like that? Why am I not thinking about? I don't want it to become less safe here. I just want people to leave. So that
it's gonna have to get less safe for people to leave.
I know, that's what sucks. That's what sucks. Is like things gotta get shitty. But
but it is like to long-term New Yorkers, it is gonna be to our benefit for things to get worse. That's
I just hope not too worse.
Not too worse.
Also, as a woman who lives by herself, that's just not something I want to deal with. Yeah. Also, growing up, like I didn't grow up in the best neighborhood. So, dealing with public safety is something that I associate with being as a child. And so, like, I think my whole life I've been like, I want my life to be better. I want things to be better for me. So having to go back to like that place to me is just like a little traumatic. Yeah. But
well, yeah, I get it. Yeah, you're a woman living alone, and all those Charles Bronson movies, the woman that lives alone, just
I know, right?
Times a day,
it's just terrible.
So, like, but you stupid cat. The cat jumped on the keyboard. But at the same time, it would be to our benefit for things to get shitty for a few years, and we buy like 20 houses and then become millionaires when the hipsters come back.
Oh.
Sonya, so you were talking about your childhood. You were very isolated and sheltered. Did you watch a lot of cartoons or Disney films?
I did. As a kid?
Okay.
I didn't watch Disney movies, I don't think. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Name some movies from when we were kids, and I'll tell you.
What was your favorite movie as a kid?
I didn't get to go to the movies as a kid.
Oh, well, did you watch them at home?
No, like I had we just had regular television.
Oh, okay.
So I watched a lot of PBS as a kid.
So you like Sesame Street?
I love Sesame Street. Oh my
Okay,
God.
and
I love Elmo. I
three,
actually
two.
liked Oscar too,
Which one?
which is weird. Oscar, who everyone hated.
No, Oscar is the best. Are you kidding me?
Oscar's like, he's so cantankerous. Like, you're like, I don't want you to be my friend, but you're so fun to watch.
Oscar was great. Actually,
He's like he's like Larry David. He's like the epitome of Larry David.
the great thing about Sesame Street is you like everyone in the cast. Like, there's not a character
Yeah.
in the cast that's like, oh, get him the fuck away from me. Like every
Yeah.
Grover, Cookie Monster,
I loved Snuffleupagus.
Snuffleupagus is a great guy. Like that's the good thing
Yeah.
about that. So, when you got older, did you like start watching Disney movies, or did that just pass you by?
Um, I don't remember being part of that Disney universe because I didn't go to Disney World. Is that the
I
one
haven't gone there yet either.
in Florida? Is that the one in Florida? Disney World?
Yeah, Disneyland's
Disneyland?
in Cali, Disney World's in Florida.
Okay, I've never been to Disneyland, but I've been to Disney World. I didn't go there until I was an adult.
Okay, I still haven't gone there at all. So
yeah, so I don't think like the whole Disney World, like aside from Mickey Mouse, like I think I watched Mickey Mouse probably I remember Mickey cartoons.
well, they did have Mickey cartoons on regular TV, so
yeah. So I watched that. I remember watching all those. You remember Animaniacs?
Yes, that was Warner Brothers, but yeah, that was a good show. That's a great show.
See, I don't even know the difference between Disney and Warner Brothers except for Mickey.
You had a really sheltered childhood. Oh my God.
Well, I just didn't get, that's all I had was public television. Like I didn't have cable. I think we got cable when I was like a teenager. And then I watched a dirty movie and my dad just turned it off. So
I had these Indian girls in my class. They were in my class from 1st to 8th grade, and they didn't talk to anybody. And what I would do at lunch is I would just sit there and ask them, like, have you seen this? Have you seen that? And they'd be like, no. And then I would be like, well, what do you do when you go home?
So racist, Ray.
I'm not racist. I was just.
Oh, that's probably what. Were they like? Were they from India? The girls?
Yes, they were from India.
Okay.
And I think like literally they were born in India and they came here. And I would say, what do you do? Both of them. I'd be like, well, what do you do when you go home? And like, where do we study? We eat. I'm like, what do you eat? And like they would tell me some.
Your Indian girls sound like a mix between Julia Child and.
They were very soft spoken. I was the only people. Were like, you get them to talk, and I'd be like, yeah, I just like they would not talk to anyone, but I would just ask them questions because I just wanted to know.
Because you're sweet. You're a sweet guy.
Yeah. And then I'd be like, what happens then? And then we go to bed. And I'm like, what time is that? And they're like 7:30. And I'm like 7:30. You don't watch Alf or Fresh Prince or what? I don't know what that is.
I watched Friends. I watched Fresh Prince.
They didn't watch that. And then I would like tell them about the shows. I'm like, aren't you interested? And I'm like, I think I would like try to make bargains with them. Okay, what if tomorrow you watch Saved by the Bell and give me a report on it? And they're like, no, we have to study. And I'm like,
yeah, well, they're probably doctors. They're doctors now, Ray. So there you go.
I think I found one of them on Facebook, and I think she's like doing thought stuff. I might be wrong though. So
she's doing what?
Like making like thought photos. I might be wrong.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Well, I kind of feel like it's only if you press somebody too much, once they get freedom, they go ballistic.
I did. That's what happened to me, for sure.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I got to college, and it was like, I became an insane person. So.
Yeah, I feel like that's why I never did that, because like even though my parents like they babied me up until the point they died, like they let me watch R-rated movies, they let me watch whatever sitcom I wanted. They let they let me play arcade. So like I never had a moment where it was like, oh, I didn't get to do anything. I'm gonna do it all. I had that. I had that in college where I remember discovering alcohol, and it was just like, oh my God. I was like, school? What's school? I stopped going to classes. Oh, my parents let me taste alcohol when I was a kid, so I never had that moment where I was like, oh, I want to know what this is like. I like already know.
And what's crazy is that like I have an older sibling, and my parents it sounds like they were a little bit better when she was young, because they let her go to the prom, and they let her try alcohol, and they used to go to parties, and they had friends, where they would socialize and stuff. And by the time I was born, when I was little, my dad just became super religious, and so I didn't have any of that. Like they stopped drinking. We didn't have alcohol in the house. Like it was just a different world for me.
Wow. That's crazy. Well, I mean, we had a liquor cabinet. We did like my parents would collect liquor. Like you saw it, you've been
Yeah.
here. They would
Yeah.
like if they saw a cool bottle, they'd buy it, but they wouldn't drink it. So I had the kind of this viewpoint of alcohol also being like a collectible, which I don't know if a lot of people do. But if you like, I still have a bottle of Hennessy, and this is I hate to be racist, but this was like before they started marketing towards black
That
people.
is
So it was like,
racist. That is so
what?
racist. That's insanely racist.
But like when I worked at a
That's
club,
racist, Ray.
okay, but when I worked at a club, when I worked at Caroline's, there was no white people ever ordered Hennessy. I mean, I'm just saying, like.
Okay, but that's just a preference. That has nothing to do with anything else.
Okay,
You need
well,
to check yourself, all right? That's not okay.
My dad, that used to be a drink of choice, and then like I don't. He has it's a whole different bottle. They like the old Hennessy looks like they're making it for English gentlemen, and now I don't know.
Well, I'm sure it's owned by some English company even today.
Yeah, but now, like I'm just saying, like I'm not trying to, but like it was like a different. The rappers have made it more of an urban drink. Is urban okay? I don't know.
No, it's not.
No, you're not okay. Jesus Christ.
I think it's just a style. Like, I mean, think about all the things. Think about how rap music has pervaded your life in so many ways. I mean, everything that's cool, everything that's culturally cool has come out of Black culture, at least in my life. So for me, it's like, to me, it's not a negative thing. I mean,
no, it's not. No, it's not a negative thing. But it's funny how different the presentation of Hennessy was back then to now. I have a bottle of Hennessy.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I don't know whoever drank. I don't even know.
When my dad told me his drink used to be Hennessy, I was like, really?
My dad used to drink Chivas.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Well, because like that's what I'm saying. When my sister was young, I think they still like hung out and went to parties and were cool. And so not anymore.
Not anymore. Now they're trapped in India. So
now they're trapped.
now they can never come back. Sorry.
So
I'll take it that you've never seen this movie before today, Emperor's New
Groove. No, but you know what I did see? Okay, my favorite. Please tell me it's a Disney film. Okay. The Land Before Time.
No, it's not Disney.
My God, that's one of my favorite movies.
It's Steven Spielberg, a Universal emblem. Something.
I love that movie.
It is a good movie. It's very dramatic. Actually, the last guest that I had on the last episode also loved Land Before Time. That is a really good movie, though. It's great. It
reminds me a little bit of The Lion King, except the mama dinosaur dies not because of the family, but there's that beginning scene where within the first 10 minutes of the movie, there's a very traumatic thing that happens.
Yeah, I've only watched that movie once, and I was a mess. Me and my mom watched it together, and I was a mess. And we bought it, we owned it. I watched it once. I was an emotional mess. I've never watched it again.
You have to watch it again.
I know I gotta watch it again. Like I was like, so, like then we got Little Mermaid, and Little Mermaid was like, it's not the greatest, but like it is the greatest actually. But when I was a kid, but at least like it didn't make me fucking cry like a lunatic.
Yeah, that movie's scary. Yeah, the dinosaur scene in the beginning is scary when the mom dies. But I like The Little Mermaid. That's Disney, right?
Yes, that's Disney. Yes.
Okay, so I like The Little Mermaid. I love The Lion King.
The Lion King is Disney.
I saw that.
What about Aladdin? I was originally going to have you for Aladdin, but then when I had to record the episode, the world was ending. So, or at least I thought it was. So, like, I skipped you over.
That would have been a fun one to do, actually, because do you know how many times I've been called Jasmine?
Yeah, I know.
My entire life.
That's why I thought of you for that. But then, like, I don't know. I was like, okay, I don't know what's going to happen here, and I started recording ahead of time. But this is
fine.
Good.
That's fine. Just do it without me. I get it.
You did wind up on this one.
Yes, that's fine. I'm happy.
What did you think of this movie?
I really liked it. I thought it was cute. Like it's not. I don't think it's really meant for adults so much. Although I think some of the humor is really funny.
Some of the humor is very adult. I thought.
Yeah. So it's very slapstick to me. And I read about it after I watched it just to prep for the podcast, and apparently it took 6 years to make the movie.
Well, originally they wanted to make it something very serious.
Yeah, and it was the same guy that did, I think, Lion King that was going to do it. Allers, right? Is that his name?
Yeah.
And so, but then they kept having, I guess, production issues, and they brought in this new director, and then this guy just made it like a comedy, like a buddy comedy. So that's what it was to me, like just a cute comedy. I think it was a little more childish than it for adults. Like, I don't think I'd watch it on my own, except for, you know, you asked me to watch it. But I'd watch it with kids. Like, I think it's a cute thing to watch with kids.
Yeah, you know, so there's Disney. I read about this, and it's on YouTube, and I do want to watch this one day. But originally, they had an independent film crew making a documentary about the making of this movie, and
Yeah.
this is when it was supposed to be really serious. It was called a Sweatbox.
Yes.
And Sting was writing all these songs, like
Mhm.
kind of like Elton John. And I heard
Yeah.
there's a scene in the movie where the head of the animation department just shits on all the work they've done, and it's like very uncomfortable to watch because like these guys, this guy directed Lion King, so you think you know he wants to do another Lion King, and they kind of just shit on the movie, and they go like, no, we're going in an all comedic direction. And I heard it's like Curb Your Enthusiasm level of awkwardness to watch. And it's on YouTube. Disney like banned the movie, like but somebody uploaded it on YouTube and it's still there.
Sweatbox.
Sweatbox. I
Yeah,
do want
that's
to
the one
watch
I
it.
read about. I didn't know it was that controversial, though. I just read that there was a documentary about the making of the movie.
Well, it makes Disney look really bad because you know it's they're kind of openly admitting that they want to make a stupid movie, which I like. I know what I kind of feel this movie is like. See, because I've watched them all in a row, and like they were making some really great movies before this. Yeah. And I kind of feel like this movie's a little bit too slapsticky. And I also don't like I don't like David Spade's performance. I kind of find him grating.
But that's why he was good for the Emperor, because the Emperor was just a piece of shit. You know.
No, I know. He was a piece of shit. Yeah, David Spade. I think also I heard he is too. So I heard he is.
Oh, that's sad.
But like, yeah, that's the thing. It's like I just find David Spade to be a little bit. It's like he's the whole movie. If you do not like David Spade, do not watch this movie because he literally is 95% of this film.
But you know what? John Goodman is great.
John Goodman's great, and so's the guy from Seinfeld.
Patrick Warburton, Putty. Mm-hmm. Putty was amazing too.
Putty's great, and Eartha Kitt is good as
she's good. Yeah, so I feel like they kind of make up for his character, and it was fun. It was fun to watch, and I like John Goodman's character a lot, Pacha.
Yeah, John Goodman's character. If John Goodman wasn't in this movie, I think it would be a complete flop. But I think he adds a lot of heart to it.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's like, you know, he's really acting, and I feel like he was really good. I did like my favorite scene was when they were having dinner.
Mm-hmm.
And all the restaurant jokes I thought were kind of funny, where they're like the king, like the emperor wants like the food done a certain way.
Yeah.
So does the witch.
But that was like why it reminded me a little bit of a sitcom, is they kept going through that flip door.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that was it was just like very classic sitcom, you know, structure, and how they kept missing each other. But that was a good scene. I think that was one of the funnier scenes, like just pure comedy.
Yeah, and there's like a weird joke where they kind of imply that like they smell something bad and they think it's coming from the witch's legs. Did you see that scene?
No, I did not. I missed that.
There's like it's a weird joke, and they do it really fast, and I can't believe they did that because that's like a very adult joke.
Yeah, that is. I guess I missed it, but
it's very I gotta give them credit. They try for a joke every 2 seconds. Like they are not like letting out. Every second there's a new joke. So like,
well, that's why I thought it was good, because I was like, yeah, it is slapstick. It's not as serious, but I think they honored the genre. You know, it was like set up joke. So.
Set up joke. Yeah, a lot of jokes. What did you think of the opening song with Tom Jones?
I did not love it.
Okay, me neither. I thought it was
I thought it was a little cheesy.
I also think the design of David Spade's character, the Emperor, I thought the design was kind of shitty. I liked all the other designs. I didn't really like his design.
Like his face with the pointy chin.
Yeah, that was kind of obnoxious. I didn't like that either. Yeah, I didn't
and a little bit, like, I think borderline racist, because I know like I said, I read about it a little bit, and they were trying to in the beginning like be very true to Incan culture, and then it seems like they just kept the look, and they made all the characters slightly tan. You know, so
yeah, it kind of felt like it was Incan culture, but it was more like early 2000s, like a society. You know what I mean? Like early,
like an appropriation of it. Yeah.
Yeah, like the jokes were very silly, and it didn't. Yeah,
the writing was good. They made fun of Eartha Kitt a lot, like that character. What's her name? What's her name again?
The witch.
Yves?
Yeah,
Inez.
Yves. Yeah.
No, that's not her name. What's her
Hold on.
name?
I'm gonna pull up the Wikipedia page. I should have
Okay.
it. I usually have the Wikipedia page up when I do this, but let
Yeah.
me.
But they would
Let's.
make fun of her. Remember in the very beginning, he's like, "Look at those wrinkles." Like it was just kind of a
Gizma.
little bit like
Gizma.
Yzma, yeah.
Yzma. Yes. Yes. That's a
And
hard.
they were making fun of her a lot about her age. So I thought that was a little weird too. But you know, they went for some stereotypical stuff, I think.
Oh, Owen Wilson was supposed to be in the original version
Yeah,
of the
he
movie.
was. Yeah, they dropped him, and it was supposed to be somebody else too who played. It was supposed to be a love story in the beginning too.
Yeah. And then you know why they did? Because Pocahontas and Hunchback of Notre Dame, which were very serious movies. Have you seen those movies?
I saw Pocahontas. I never saw the Notre Dame movie.
I think I think you and Eric would both like Hunchback of Notre Dame now because it's a very adult film, but it's good.
Is it stay true to the story, the original story?
Well, it doesn't get as dark because in the original story
Okay.
they die in each other's arms as Merelda and
Yeah.
Quasimodo, and they don't do that.
Uh-huh.
But it
Okay.
is. I mean, like there's a song where the villain basically admits that if the heroine doesn't get with him, he's gonna murder her. So
Oh, that's nice.
yeah. But those movies bombed, and not they didn't bomb, they didn't do that well. So they were like, we can't keep being this serious. But I like it being that serious. I think sometimes it gets too silly, and it's like I don't mind silly when it's a 22-minute cartoon, but when it's an hour and a half, I think there has to be some emotion in it. Otherwise,
But this was like 75 minutes, so it kind of like toes the line a little bit.
that's true.
And
Yeah.
and also it was the number. What I did read was that it was the number one video in 2001.
Yes.
So it
Yeah.
actually did way better when it was on video than it did in the box office.
Yeah, no, I remember it did. And I remember I started. This is when I was first started collecting my DVDs, which I have a ton. And they had a massive 2-disc version of this,
Mm-hmm.
but it was like $40, and I always wanted to get it, and I didn't. Now it's out of print.
Oh, poor Ray.
I know, and the one when I finally bought it this summer because I never owned it until this summer. This version has no special features. So usually these movies have a ton of special features, so I have a lot of behind the scenes information I could bring to the podcast. But this one didn't, and I think it's because all the special features are that
in that 2-disc. Yeah.
Oh, that 2-disc, but also they don't want a sweatbox, and apparently all that footage makes them look bad.
Well, and also Sting got into it with them, and so in that special, the 2-disc one, they had 3 songs of the 6 songs that he wrote.
Oh, okay, yeah, because it was supposed to be all Sting songs.
Yeah, and but the problem was like he wrote all these songs, and then like one of them was a love song, and like that storyline wasn't in it anymore. That's why they had to keep cutting his stuff. But I did read that at the end, you know how at the end he gets a shack on a like the adjacent hill.
Well, the end credits is one of his songs. Yeah,
it is. But also at the end, what they were going to do was they were going to have the prince make his like that summer palace. They're going to have him do it on another hill.
Okay.
So basically displacing another village instead of Hacha's village. Mm-hmm. And Sting said he would leave the production if they did that. Because he's like, I spent my whole life fighting for indigenous rights. And he actually said this about this animated film where he was like, you cannot have him like take over that particular forest and do that. You have to. And so that's why they changed it where he also goes and lives in a shack.
Okay, that's okay. Well, but that's a nicer ending that they all live together as friends. I thought,
yeah,
like, they become part of the family.
Yeah.
So I'm good for Sting. His wife was the one who made the documentary. So
she did?
Yeah, she was behind the documentary.
Oh, wow. Now I want to watch the documentary.
Yeah, it's on YouTube. It was not seen for years, and then somebody broke in and put it on Disney. Like Disney does not like anything that makes them look bad.
I know.
And even if a movie bombs, they do not like celebrating it. They don't like talking about it. They just bury that movie. That's why like for the longest they didn't really have the rights to X-Men, so they like didn't do anything with X-Men. My friends would get mad. I'm like, listen, Disney doesn't give a fuck how much we like the X-Men. If they can't make money off the X-Men, we're not seeing the X-Men. You know what I mean?
But how is it that they couldn't make money off of it?
Because Fox had the rights to the movies.
Oh, I see.
The last few movies were Fox. Now I think that's part of the reason why they bought Fox, because there's a lot of money in the X-Men.
Interesting. Yeah, they
So
bought everything except the news outlet, right?
yeah, and the news and Fox, the channel Fox 5 is not owned by
Sports. Okay.
Fox Sports, Fox 5, Fox News. That's not owned by Disney, but all the creative stuff is owned by
Is
FX.
owned
All
by
that.
them. Okay.
Yeah, but
Okay.
if they can't, it doesn't matter to them how much we like something. If they feel they can't make money off of it, they bury it. They don't give a fuck.
Yeah, and also Eisner, I think at the point where Allers was like leaving the production,
Hmm.
he told the producer they'd already like put in 25 to 30 million dollars into the animation, and he said you have 2 weeks, and if you can't turn this thing around, he was going to shelve it
Wow.
forever.
Yeah,
So I
well,
guess for them it's like 30 million bucks, not a big deal. So
yeah. That's why, like, I like this movie, but also don't like it because kind of feel like this movie's more like to please corporate heads than to like please audiences. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just feel like they had a vision. Everyone had this vision, and I think if they had achieved the vision, I think it would have been something just as great as Lion King or Aladdin.
yeah, probably. But that Allers is quoted saying he thinks if he had more time he could have done that, but he said we'll never know.
Yeah, well, you'll never
And
know. And
that's right. But
and
as a
after this,
comedian, I liked it. Like the comedian in me liked it because
no,
it was
yeah, there
cute
were
and
some great.
plastic, and
I just thought there was a little bit too much David Spade. I feel like they should have gave more lines to John Goodman.
I
I don't
think
know.
I think that's the truth. I think that is your true feeling. You just hate David Spade so much that
Well, the
you're
next
like,
year they make Monsters Inc. Well, Pixar does, not them. They don't own
mhm.
Pixar at this point in history, but they make Monsters Inc. and John Goodman is with Billy Crystal, and they worked a lot better together. Like, I can watch that movie. Have you ever seen Monsters Inc.?
I don't think so.
Oh, you should watch that. That movie is so good, and John Goodman and Billy Crystal are really funny together.
I can see that. I can just
Mhm.
picture the two of them being hilarious. Also, John
Yes.
Goodman's just an incredible actor.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He's
So
amazing.
So I have that movie in mind when I got this. So like David Spade and John Goodman, I just feel like David Spade is stepping over John Goodman's lines. Where Billy Crystal and John Goodman, they have me on the floor. That's one of the
They
best
have a
animated movies ever
flow.
made, Monsters Inc.
Really?
Yeah, it's
Would
really good.
Now on your Disney podcast, would you have Monsters Inc?
Well,
Have you had it?
I'm gonna do a Pixar after I do all the Walt Disney films. I'm doing the Pixar films, so that's
Oh,
gonna
you
come
are?
out.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. So because it falls under the Disney umbrella.
yes, because now Disney didn't own Pixar until 2006. They basically bought Pixar because Pixar's making movies so much better.
Better
They were making
movies,
shit.
right?
They
Yeah.
started making shit in the mid 2000s, Disney. So they're like,
Yeah.
fuck it, we're gonna buy these guys and that improved all
Okay,
the
but once
movies.
they bought Pixar, did Pixar keep making good movies?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Pixar still makes great movies. I heard
Okay.
Coco is like incredible and stuff. Um, yeah, Pixar. I saw Toy Story 4 last year. I thought it was amazing. So Pixar does still make great movies, but they were like, why are we distributing? Why are we distributing their movies but not owning the rights to these characters? Because like, you know what I mean? Like these movies
Yeah.
are making a ton of money. They should be
Yeah.
our characters.
Well,
So
that was a smart business move for them,
yeah, and then they
right?
started
Yeah.
buying everything. So
Yeah. That's the problem, right? Then they become this monolith, and it's
well,
like, okay,
basically,
well,
Amazon and Disney are going to control us by the end of 2021.
did
So
you hear that Bezos is on track for being the first trillionaire by 2026?
yeah, and I don't doubt it. A lot of times, I've just during this pandemic, the only place I could go for stuff that I needed or wanted was Amazon.
Okay,
I mean,
first of all, you can go other places. It's just a lot harder.
okay, yeah, I did try to drive to. So I wanted exercise equipment. We drove to a Walmart. The line was out the door. It was all like the worst fucking people. And it was me and Ray DeVito who drove there. And we immediately drove back, and I ordered my exercise equipment off Amazon.
I haven't used Amazon or any of his products. Like I haven't bought anything from Whole Foods or Amazon in over a year,
Hmm. Listen,
including this pandemic.
I would go to a mom.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, it is possible. It's just really hard. It's
Well,
really
listen,
hard, but you can do it because I think he's such a horrible person now. He's put in infrared cameras so that he can see in his in the fulfillment centers whether people are gathering together because he wants to prevent them from unionizing.
I know, yeah. Well, that's things. That's why I'm glad he didn't. That's why I'm glad that company didn't come to this neighborhood. Everyone now is still like, oh,
Yeah.
if Amazon came, you all would have jobs. And I'm like,
No,
no,
that's not true.
that's not true.
Amazon traditionally, historically, if you look at every city they've come to, they actually haven't helped the city. They've just taken
No,
the tax subsidies. So I'm glad they didn't come to New York.
yeah, Yeah, people are so like they're so nearsighted with Amazon. They think Amazon's the great fucking savior, and it's not.
No, it's not.
And
He's a horrible person. But
they
it's been
basically,
hard.
I think I showed you at my birthday party last year, but they basically sent like a flyer that's basically saying like we're coming to take over your fucking house, but like using nice passive aggressive language. But that was
Yeah.
basically the flyer I got from them, and
And
it
they
was.
would have. They would have. You wouldn't have been able to fight those lawyers,
And
right? So,
here's the crazy thing too about Amazon is that like when I get like flyers to the house, I still get flyers sent to my aunt and to me. So a lot of companies still assume my aunt's alive. They don't know she's dead.
right.
But when I got the flyer from Amazon, it only had my name on it, and it was directed towards me, and it was very clear that they knew that I was the only one living in this house. And to me, it's like you have done your due diligence to send out
Yeah.
these flyers because they knew if they. And I had a theory they were going to try to buy up as much property in Astoria as they could.
Of course they would have. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You knew the only person you could deal with in this deal was me. You didn't. You
Right.
knew my aunt was gone.
Yeah.
So.
See, that's a little scary too that they know
Mm-hmm.
all this.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just can't stand him. I mean, if people use him, I'm like, whatever. I'm not like, I don't care. I'm sure I do bad things too, but I don't care as much. But I'm also like, if everyone hates him so much, then you got to stop using. You got to learn
Yeah.
how to live without his service because that's what's going to make him a trillionaire. He's making so much money right now.
The cringiest thing to me about Amazon right now is like there's some shows on Prime. They're like like these anti-establishment, anti-corporation shows or movies, and I'm like they're being paid for by a corporation. Like
Yeah.
Hunters, it's like we're so hardcore, and
Yeah.
it's like no, you're not. You're made by a corporation that is selling banana hammocks. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, and also Gervais called them out. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Because I think one of the shows network was from. Is that the show name from Apple TV? The one with Jennifer Aniston?
Yes, Apple TV morning show or something. Yeah.
Morning show, right. So that one was one, and Amazon Prime is one who did Fleabag, right? So, which I loved. And I don't pay for Amazon Prime either, but luckily I have people who watch it, so I get to see it for free. But like, you almost can't avoid these guys, but that's what Ricky Gervais was saying. He was like, we're celebrating all these shows that are cutting edge, but they're all owned by corporations.
Yeah.
By the things we hate. So, I mean, at the same, like, I guess it's just we kind of live in that world now. We live in this hypocritical world. But the problem is he has so much power, and he's a scary guy. All these people who become super rich, like even Elon Musk. Like, I love Tesla as a company for a long time, and now the stuff he's saying is crazy too.
Well, he's not even
he didn't
create Tesla. He bought his way into the company.
Well, yeah, Tesla created Tesla, right?
Yeah, no, there's I'll sing the article, but he basically just bought his way and paid off the company to like he basically PR'd his way into making all of us think he's a genius, but he's not. He just has a ton of money. It'd be
wasn't there an actual guy named Tesla?
There is, but he didn't create the company Tesla. Some other guys did. It's a whole thing.
He created he was behind the innovation.
Yes,
right?
And he got kind of fucked over by a lot of people.
Edison.
Yeah.
I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it'd be the equivalent of if I just threw money at Apple until Apple was basically like Ray Gooch created everything and just beat that into people's heads.
Yeah.
And then I just walked around pretending. So it's like, people like take him on the Joe Rogan podcast. It's like, oh, he's a genius. It's just the guy from news radio and a guy who has a ton of money spouting nonsense. They're not fucking geniuses. I'm a genius, okay? Fuck you. Like, I like Joe Rogan, but he's the guy. He was on news fucking radio, and this guy just has a ton of money. And they're sitting there acting like they're Mensa members. Like, how the fuck?
But I feel like that's how everyone is. Don't you think as soon as people get rich, we associate rich people with being smart and knowledgeable?
Yeah.
It's just how we all do it, right? We all think of like Mark Zuckerberg, but they're all just assholes. I mean, not all of them, okay, but
well, look, like when you really do some research into like SNL or fucking people who have written for like sitcoms like The Office, they all like are Ivy League kids, and it's John Mulaney's parents worked with Bill Clinton, and then you're like, okay, wait a minute. It's not that Ivy League people are just so much more fucking funny than poor people. It's just like you look into Chevy Chase's parents; they're rich. Yeah. It's just rich people look out for other rich people. So it's like, oh, it's just such a it's such a like so and so is so successful. Yeah, because
Right.
he's born into it, and he's born
Right.
into a
Well, they have
world.
access.
They have access.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
remember a woman that was an intern at Caroline's, and her parents basically threw money at Lorne Michaels so she could have a meeting with Lorne Michaels on how she could get on Saturday Night Live.
Wow. Did
And
she get on Saturday Night Live?
no, but he told her, he said, go to Chicago and take classes at the Groundlings. And she moved to Chicago. She gave up everything in New York to take, because she wanted to
Right.
be, she wanted to work for Saturday Night Live. But like when you have that access, I wanted to be on Saturday Night Live as a kid. If my fucking mom could have me meet Lorne Michaels at like 8 and tell me, all right, this is what the next steps for the next 20 years of your
Right.
life have to be on my fucking show,
Yeah.
I would have probably done it. Like,
Of
I
course you
didn't have
would.
the access. So meanwhile,
No, but that's all we want. That's why people want to have money so that they can give their kids the access they didn't have.
I'm just like, making
Right?
fun of my little Indian girlfriend,
Lunch
lunch class. I didn't know I like.
They're not your girlfriends, okay?
They're not my girlfriend. They're my friends who are girl. I'm just saying, like, do you watch Three's Company? No, okay. Because I have no fucking clue how to do any of this, and that's why I got banned from Caroline's and John Mulaney's being hailed as a genius because.
Well, I mean, I also think they get to do, they get to spend all that time when you're not worried about like making rent or feeding yourself. You have so much more time to like, cultivate your skills, right? So he got to do that, and so did so many people. But even if you look at comedy is like that too. Right? The people who are mostly successful tend to have access.
Well, yeah, because you need to have someone paying your bills so that when I started in comedy, I had to work nights at Caroline's. So like I'm only on stage twice a week, but then I would see other people who got in at a very early age, and I'm like, well, how do they have all this time to hit up all these mics and do all these free shows? It's because their parents were footing all their bills. So
I know, and that's the thing is there are a lot of people who are like, oh, this comedian works really hard, and so does this one, and I'm like, yeah, and I don't think they don't, but then I've had other people say, well, yeah, but this person can work so hard because all their bills are paid.
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, you know what? I should have just let that guy pay for my apartment and been his.
I'm not gonna fucking name names, but there's a comedian who his parents had black Amexes when they came to see him do stand-up. This guy has been doing stand-up. He's very successful, but another successful comedian that I know had to get a day job because they just weren't making their bills.
Right.
And that successful comedian confronted their family. The successful comedian doesn't have a day job. Why did he get a day job? He's got to hustle harder. And
because he had to, yeah.
And yeah, this is visa. Your parents have a fucking Black American Express card. That's why you don't have to hustle. That's why you just have this freedom. I don't have that fucking freedom.
Yeah, and also like I don't blame the kid. Trust me, I wish my dad had a Black Amex and I had all the advantages. So I don't blame the kid. That kid was just born into a good situation. I don't think it's about that, but I think it's about like take yourself out of your situation. Like that's the thing we don't do, all of us don't do, where you don't say, let me take myself out of my situation and not look at it from my point of view and look at it from this kid and understand why things are more difficult for other people and have some empathy, and maybe do something to help people so that they can be more like you instead of shitting on people who have it more difficult,
Yeah. It's just, it's a, sometimes I feel like show business, is a rich man's hobby. Sometimes it's not, we all hear that story, like the kid, this kid had nothing, and then he got all this. And it's like, okay, but that's not really the story 90% of the time.
But when it does happen, I am so much more impressed with that person. I am.
Yes.
Like, I don't know who in comedy that could have been true for, but I'm imagining like
the kid
Chappelle
from Chico and the Man.
Also Chappelle. I mean,
That's true. Yes, Chappelle.
I only know that because he started comedy when he was so young, but he talked about how his mom like basically nurtured that, and even though she had to work more because of it.
Just the more I'm getting into, the longer I got into stand-up, and the more I'm seeing that more and more of some of the newer comedians. Not a lot of them come from nothing.
A lot of them, yeah.
No, nobody was like, I was a homeless crackhead. Now I'm headlining Caroline's.
But also think about it. If you were a homeless crackhead, chances are you were not you're not getting out of the lifestyle and then becoming, it's really hard to turn your life around.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
I get it.
See, back in the 80s, you could be a homeless crackhead and a successful comedian. That's going to come back. The coke and all that's going to come back. So
yeah. Well, we'll see.
We'll
see what happens.
Sonya, where can people? Is there anything you want to plug? Where can people find you if they want to follow you on social media? I know you don't post a lot on social media because you're just.
I'm trying to be better, especially during this time. Well, I finally put some content up on YouTube. So if you go to Sonya Vai on YouTube or Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, I'm at Sonya Vai. I think Instagram is at Sonya Vai Comedy, but I'm the only Sonya Vai. So if you put in that, that's fine. I'm putting out another sketch. I think today I'm going to post it. It's it's an AOC parody.
Oh, okay. Just so this is coming out. I record these at a time. It's coming out in June, so it'll be up by the time I put this out, right?
Yeah. Okay. There's already one there. I'm trying to initially I was like, I'll do a sketch a week, and then I was just like, that's not happening.
Yeah.
But I'm trying. So.
Are you doing Zoom comedy? I retired from that.
Yes, I am. I actually have a really big show coming up, but you are not. This isn't going to be out by then.
Okay.
It's May 30th, but what's cool is I got paid for it.
I know a lot of people are getting paid for Zoom. I tried it. I can't get into it.
It's really tough because it's just it's not the same. It's not the same thing. You have to be way more conversational, and I mean, I think comedy you have to be pretty conversational too. But there isn't this how they said in comedy the audience is also part of the joke. You know what I mean? In terms of it's part of the whole experience. And in this case, it's not, right? You can't depend on the audience, and you're not going to have that connection that you can get with live audiences. So I think as long as you keep that in mind, then it makes you just have to think, it's different. It's not stand up.
No, it's not stand up. I tried it and I felt more like it was ranting in a room. And I'm like, you know what? I get more creative. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm doing a wrestling podcast every night with Andrew Lee. You know him, right?
Yes.
And I'm doing my Disney podcast with different comedians. And I feel like, all right, I'm getting the same. I'm putting myself out there with all these podcasts, and I'm getting the same creative, emotional feedback that I got on stage on these podcasts. So why am I trying to do the Zoom when I'm I'm getting the same type of. I'm getting I feel like I'm putting out just as I feel like this podcast. I think this podcast was really good and interesting, and it's like, well, then why am I half-assing with Zoom?
Yeah, I agree. I think do the thing that really makes you feel good, right?
Yeah, and I feel like I'm really good. I feel like I'm good at podcasts. I'm having fun doing that, and I'm like, well, why am I also doing this Zoom thing where I could spend time writing or spend time doing other or going or walking my dogs or punching my dogs, either one.
All right, everyone who's listening, Ray does not actually punch his dog.
No, I don't punch my dogs. I don't. Okay, yeah.
This was fun. This was great. I really like this. This is enjoyable.
Yeah, no, see, it's not just about Disney. There's always a lot of other things to talk about that are related to the topic. And if we had a more meaty movie, a more emotional movie, I'm sure there's other topics. But this is about inking people dancing at Tom Jones. So I don't know.
Well, it's really about white people.
Really about white people pretending to be well, Eartha Kitt's black.
Except for Eartha Kitt. Yeah, I was just gonna say except for Eartha Kitt.
Eartha Kitt. Everyone else is white as they come.
But she's I don't know if you've ever read about her background. She's incredible. Not just as an actor, she's a force of nature.
It's crazy because when I was a kid, I wasn't a kid. I was a kid in the 80s, not the 60s. But she replaced white women as Catwoman, and nobody seemed to care. It was still nobody was like, "Oh my God, a black woman is now Catwoman." Everybody was just "Okay, new actress is Catwoman." Yeah.
Yeah, but I think, and again, you have to double check, but I'm pretty sure something happened where she was not allowed to work in America for many years.
Mm-hmm.
And so instead of quitting her career, this bitch moved to Japan, learned Japanese, and work there. How fucking boss is that?
Yeah, no, she was. She's
incredible.
She's a trailblazer. She's awesome. She did great work in this movie.
She did.
Yeah, she was very, very good in this movie.
That's another thing I read about was they said that she would come in and they base a lot of the movements on the cartoon based on her.
Yeah. Well, yeah, she's very interesting to watch in this cartoon. So
Yeah, and a lot of it's based on actual, Eartha Kitt's movements when she was in the studio, I guess, recording, and she's incredible. So
yeah, a lot of people like I think they that's why Robin Williams worked is they do the voices first, then the animation because a lot of people think
right,
it's the other way. But if they already did the animation, Robin Williams could not have improv that much on Aladdin like he
yeah.
did. They kept it in, and then they started having. That's kind of why, like after Aladdin, they started demanding that there's a stand-up comic in every movie. Until David Spade ruined that because they're like, all right, we've had
Don't
enough of
hold
these.
back, Ray. Tell us how you really feel about it.
We've had enough of these dumb fucking comedians. What the fuck was that? No, I'm joking.
It
Look,
was a
I'm
good
sure.
movie. I'm glad I saw it though.
Yeah,
So
I originally had Eric for this because I felt like it was a very Eric Bronstein film, and then he goes like, I don't want to shit on David Spade. I feel like that's all you're gonna be doing. And I'm like, yeah.
he
And then
said that to you?
yeah. And then
That's
I'm
so
like, all right, take
funny.
Lion King. He was happy to have that.
Great. So I was your backup twice. So I got
Like,
kicked out of Aladdin, and now the only reason I'm doing it is because someone else couldn't do it. You know
well, I
what?
was trying to think of someone else because I always try to pick people who the movie reminds me of.
I
And
know.
Eric's the only person who this movie reminded me of. I don't know.
Yeah, but then why am I doing it with you?
I don't know. Like I probably could have
This
had.
is some bullshit. You gotta redo Aladdin with me. Fuck that.
I mean, like if they made, I don't know, like maybe Disney will make an Indian movie and I'll have you back on because they might. That's the only culture they haven't appropriated yet.
Why is it that can only be on the Indian ones though?
Well,
That's racist.
Well, you didn't. I mean, I don't know. Also, they're not Indian and Aladdin; they're Arab. So there you go.
Exactly. Well, that's why I thought it was so funny that people would tell me. The funniest thing that I ever heard was this one guy was trying to hit on me, and he said that I reminded him of Jasmine. And then TMI, he was like, Jasmine's the first girl that I ever masturbated to. And
yeah, to me that is bizarre. That is fucking weird.
It's bizarre. It's freaky. It's just so out there. And I'm like, also as a dude, like, why would you tell me that?
Like I found a lot of animated characters attractive when I was a kid, and then and to be fair, Jasmine is a very hot animated character.
She's half naked too. So.
Yeah, she is half naked, but like, a human girl should be what inspires you to discover masturbating.
Right. Not a cartoon.
Not a cartoon girl. Like you can add a cartoon girl into your repertoire down the road.
Ray's like, I did it.
If you want to throw that in, if you're like getting bored one day of like I don't know the human girls, but like
my God,
I don't know. It's just
I don't even think human girls are what's on like porn now. I feel like those are all CGI'd women anyway.
I mean, it's eventually going to come to that. I mean, they just saw CAA signed a CGI influencer. I don't know if you saw that.
No.
Yeah, they signed a virtual girl for a developmental deal, which is like.
So who's the real person behind it? It's just whoever has the account?
It's a team of programmers.
Oh, so they signed the programmers.
Well, yeah, they signed this, which is insane.
Well,
that's like CAA has signed Super Mario to a old brand deal. He's gonna be touring
But
clubs.
maybe they do. Yeah, I don't know. But the like fashion magazines have been using CGI influencers. That's probably why CAA wound up signing one of them, because they've been using these these very fake people, holograms, I guess, whatever that you want to call it. And they're using them and having their own accounts like on Vogue and stuff, and they're considered to be style influencers. And people don't know they're fake.
Ugh, that's so weird to me. There's nothing better than a real hot woman. Like you don't really need the CGI women. That's creepy. Like let's just get real hot women. There's still a lot of hot women out on the planet that you haven't put on magazine covers.
I don't know. They're not CGI.
That's so weird. I don't know.
It's weird.
And the other thing too is like I hate to sound like a complete pervert, but the 2D animated girls, like whether it's Jasmine or Ariel or Pocahontas, are way hotter than these new CGI Disney girls. Like they all look like fucking mannequins. They don't look like I'm sorry. I don't know what you think.
Glad to know that you have a preference over CGI. Like the fake girls that are really hot are these girls, not
Yeah,
these
well, the
girls.
2D girls, they have a lot of,
Is that what you call them? 2D?
well, it's because it's pen and paper.
Right.
Yeah,
The other thing I read about this show, about the movie, that I thought was really interesting is it's one of the last animated films that Disney did before they moved over to CGI.
Yeah,
Is that true?
well, in 2005 they moved to fully CGI films. So this is the year 2000, so they're a few years away. But yeah.
But I don't. How many movies did they make between 2000 and 2005?
Oh, they made. Let's see. They made They made Atlantis, Lilo and Stitch, Treasure Planet, Brother Bear, Home on the Range. 5 more, and then they went to CGI.
Yeah, so it was one of the last ones.
Yeah, it was one of the last. So this came out in the Christmas time. That this summer, the movie I covered last was their first all CGI film, which was Dinosaur, which is a giant piece of shit. That movie's an abomination. Yeah, the CGI
I've
doesn't
never even
hold
heard
up.
of it. So
Exactly, the CGI doesn't hold up at all. It's very bad. So.
well, thank you for having me on, even though I clearly was not the first choice.
Well, sorry.
Bullshit. It's bullshit, right?
Well, but listen, you were the second choice. That's even better.
Oh, that makes me feel so good. Sloppy second.
But
Thanks, Ray.
you weren't the 5th choice or something.
Oh my God. If I'm the 5th choice, don't tell me.
Beauty and the Beast, I had to go to like my 3rd or 4th choice. So you should,
Oh, really? I should feel grateful that I'm the second choice? Fuck that shit!
Don't worry, when I have you back on, it'll be the first choice.
Yeah, I better be, or else I'm not coming back.
Guys, if you discover this podcast for the first time, if you're a fan of Eartha Kitt, Emperor's New Groove, Sonya Vai, or racism, and you discover this podcast and you enjoyed it, we've covered every movie from Snow White up until this film, and next week we're going to do Atlantis, The Lost Empire, with the comedian John Minus. Do you know him, Sonya?
I don't.
Okay, he's a nice guy. He has a show in Jersey and stuff. Go in the archives, subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, whatever the fuck you do, and follow us on Instagram at Goots' Disney Pod, and also at Twitter at Goots Disney. And follow me, Ray Goots, on Twitter and Instagram. I'm there. I'm funny, and fucking
yeah. And make sure you tell him that was your second choice of following. Okay, after you follow.
Let him know. So, Sonya,
right.
Thank you so much for being on the podcast. And guys, I will see you next week for Atlantis.
Thank you so much, Ray. Take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Thanks for being a racist.